Has that changed anything?
That has, yeah.
Have I gone higher or lower?
You've gone higher. Like, you're inhaling bare helium.
What about now?
Oh my god, it's like fucking, I don't know. Who's, I nearly said Bill Cosby, but Bill Cosby doesn't really have a low voice, does he? But...
Is it back to normal now?
No.
Now?
No.
What about now?
Yeah, you're back to normal now, yeah. And this week I'm recording with fucking Brian Blessing.
Right, anyway, come on. Right, you ready?
I'm ready when you are.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Doctor Who. As always, I'm Josh, and my co-host with me, as always, is Jack.
Hi there.
I cocked that intro right up, but we'll stick with it. Hopefully this episode is going to be more interesting than the actual episode of Doctor Who. But Jack, what are your overall thoughts on the episode?
See, it's really funny you say that because I really like this episode of Doctor Who. So I actually sat there and watched it on the train, and I'm glad I watched it on the train surrounded by people because I've got to say, I thought it was a proper creepy episode.
I'm shocked by that. I've always had this in my head as one of the more boring episodes of the first series. And to be totally honest, I was watching it and thought, this is nothing. This isn't really anything. Before we dive into your thoughts in a bit more depth, shout out to our Instagram crew. We've got, I'm just going to give a few quick shout outs. Marcus, the cardboard sculpture. He says it's Dickens quality, not suck dick quality. Evelyn Dark, she says it's Dickens quality. We've got Marcus Bosworth here. He says it's Dickens quality, and Cameron as well. So thank you guys for reacting to our post. Yeah. And then we also had a lovely message from somebody who, if I can remember correctly, is called, bear with me just for a second.
Hitting the real professionalism here, you know. We're doing well. We're doing well.
Strawberry Lucy. She was very kind. She said that it's a great idea. She loves the podcast. She did a similar thing with her boyfriend recently. So she said she's looking forward to seeing our thoughts and stuff. So just on that, guys, we would love to hear more your thoughts. So just write into us. You can find us on Instagram, DocWhoPod, emails in there. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. But for now, we're just hearing from you, Jack. So you said you were happy you didn't watch it on your own. So God, like, what did you think? You clearly liked the episode.
Yeah, no, I really did. Which is really weird to hear you say that you didn't like the episode. You thought it was one of the worst episodes of this season. And I was sitting there thinking, did we actually watch the same episode? But
it's so boring, man. Nothing happens in it.
No, it's good. I mean, the ending was a little bit rushed. It did seem like a bit of a cop out right at the end, but the actual build up, like throughout the episode, I thought was really good. It was.
I'll give you.
I was.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I thought it was quite a good episode.
The intro, in line with the Next Time trailer from last week, was pretty terrifying. I'll give you that. I sort of couldn't really exactly remember what happened at first as well. Straight off the bat, neck snap, boom, love it. That's dark.
Yeah, no, agreed. My first note is straight off the bat with the creepiness. It was straight away. Undertaker, you're in there. It's dark. It's gloomy. It's Victorian, and I don't know about you, but Victorian times to me always seems very creepy. There's always like a kind of, I don't know. It just anything to do with Victorian times, you're just like, oh, that's a bit creepy. You know, it just doesn't seem natural, and it did actually get me thinking. What now do we do that people in the future are going to go, that's really creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like she says when she has a flash forward thing, people moving in metal boxes. That was my Welsh accent. But no, I think
the Welsh
I think it's a truly terrifying episode. I think the actual Victorian era is a period that does not interest me in the slightest. I think that's maybe why I have that disconnect with anything as well. Pride and Prejudice, and I can't think of anything else set in that time range, but it just bores me. I'm just not interested. But yeah, you get an actual crunching neck snap, which you don't get very often. And then you've just got the calmest of Welshmen. Just, oh no, another one. And he just gets on with it. I fucking love that guy.
That was the thing. That's exactly what I put down on my notes as well. It was just, he just goes, oh, not another one. And I'm like, how many times has this actually happened before you consider it a problem? Because to me, like, where I'm working in an office, I'd say, oh no, the printer's jammed or the
Yeah,
coffee's gone cold or something. It's not
exactly.
that one of my clients' mums has just got up out of a casket and just walked off before killing,
Yeah,
not before killing her son, and not just killing her son, like a brutal, as you say, it was a brutal neck snap, and it was just
yeah.
like, ouch.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
No, you're right. You're right. I think he says later on, he's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I can get us an exorcism on the cheap. All right. Yep. I
yeah,
think I am this Welshman. This guy is brilliant.
yeah, no, agree. I wish all problems in life I had just had the kind of thought process of that Welshman. You just like, oh no, my house has burned down. Oh, it's happened again. Oh
Yeah,
well, what a
exactly.
shame. We
I
move on.
love,
It's like, oh, okay,
yeah. The
yeah,
dead are walking, it could be the apocalypse. This is probably some religious context here. And he's just like, well, we could save the world, but we try and keep costs down if we do, because,
yeah,
I relate to that, mate. Yeah, keep them costs down.
yeah. Oh look, mate rates at an exorcism. Everyone needs a priest. None of
Exactly.
this. I've got a friend that's a plumber or an electrician. No, no, no. You need a man that that is an exorcist, and he's just like, yeah, I'll do it for you on the cheap. Buy me a pint and a couple of packs of crisps.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly. Would have come in handy on some of our hangover days as well, I would imagine. But we haven't spoken about it yet. The opening titles, Jack. What do you think of that flying through the vortex and the music swelling and the names flying? What do you reckon?
You're right. We haven't, because it's been all the same. Kind of the past two episodes as well. I mean, it's pretty iconic. The music itself is pretty iconic. You could say even I knew the Doctor Who music. It's one of those things. You hear that theme tune and anybody knows that's
Yeah.
the Doctor Who theme intro. Now I've got to say that the time vortex, like kind of it actually going through the time vortex. I think it's not a bad. I mean, I'm no physicist. I did it at A level, but didn't do very well at it, should we say? But that's what I'm assuming
How
that
are
it would
those
look like.
Cambridge classes that you were doing?
Yeah, they went well. They did. They went really really well. But no, like the thing is you're in theory the time and light is bending around the TARDIS and it's moving through. So of course as it's moving through, it's bending it around. So I'm assuming that if you was behind the TARDIS, it would look like you're moving through like kind of like a tube. And yeah, I know. I'm guessing they probably got a few guys. They picked the brains on and went, by the way, in theory, what do you think this would look like? Almost like what Christopher Nolan did with Interstellar, with the black hole. When they go around the black hole.
I actually haven't seen Interstellar.
Oh my god!
I know, I know. I think you've read way too much into this. It's just traveling through a time portal. I don't know what's
Yeah,
all this about, light bending and all this.
bending light and
You've
time.
lost
That's
me.
it.
You've lost me.
No, easy, it's easy. Simple physics. Well, I say simple physics, but we haven't mastered those kind of physics yet. But they're theories. They're theories. But no, I've got to say it's as you say, the music swells. It kind of starts off quietly, and then by the end, you're almost raring to go with the episode. You're like, right, okay.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
can
exactly.
imagine. I'm sure. Do they stick with the same theme tune like throughout the seasons, or?
There's so like throughout Russell's era, there's slight variations on it, and then it
Okay.
kind of changes with Stephen Moffat, but it sort of stays the same. And again, it's just slight variations, and then it's a total rebrand for the Chibnall era, which everybody likes. But anyway, one of the names that pops up is it's written by Mark Gatiss, who in future episodes he comes up as an actor and as a repeat writer for the series as well. I
Okay.
fucking love Mark Gatiss. He's brilliant. Did you ever watch the Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, right?
No, I never watched that. My favorite
Wow.
Sherlock Holmes was funny enough as the Robert Downey Jr. one with the Guy Ritchie version
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, very cool.
with
But
Jude Law. Yeah,
with Jude Law, yeah, I do like those films. They're making a third one, right? I think that's just coming to.
apparently so. Yeah, apparently so.
Anyway, so Mark Gatiss wrote those Sherlocks with Stephen Moffat, which obviously everybody loved back in the day. Did you watch the new Dracula show that came out? He also wrote that with Stephen Moffat. He does some really good stuff. But I've gone through the episodes that he's written: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so he's written 10 episodes.
Okay.
One of them is good. At a push, it's not even that great. One of them is good. Yeah. He's not.
Really?
He doesn't do it for me. I really like him whenever he's an actor in Doctor Who. I really like all his other stuff. I don't think he knows how to write Doctor Who. This is, for me, this is subpar. this is not a good episode of Doctor Who.
Interesting. I mean, I could try and. I mean, well, it's going to come up in the kind of the opening titles anyway. That he writes it, but it's going to be interesting to see because, as I say, I like this episode. So it's going to be interesting to see if future episodes he writes, whether I like them or not.
Whether whether they're up to your standard or not. Yeah, it'd be interesting. We'll keep an eye on that as you come on. So they land the TARDIS. They're in. They're at Christmas for some reason.
Yep.
Even though I had to look it up. This episode aired the 9th of April.
Right. I'm glad you said that because I actually put, was this a Christmas special?
Yeah, I sort of thought the same thing. Yeah.
I was like, I mean, look, I know you can set, an episode any time, and I suppose that's the point of Doctor Who. You can set it whatever time, whatever date. But it was a bit weird that they decided to do it at Christmas.
I agree. What's the narrative sort of reason behind that? I don't think there is one, right? Okay, you've got the Christmas Carol and the Charles Dickens. That all makes sense, but it wouldn't have made a difference if you'd have sort of done it at any point in history, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, look, I don't know if there was a Christmas special in this season, but surely you could have another episode where they go back in time and then have this one later on in the season as a Christmas special. Because one of my final note for this episode was Christmas Carol, because to me it did remind me of Christmas Carol, with Charles Dickens actually being Scrooge, where he's going through the streets and he's all happy and he's like, he's kind of got that Christmas spirit back. And I was like, that would have been a really, really good Christmas episode, especially as for the first season, you're going back to Charles Dickens, Christmas Carol. That's perfect. That is Christmas there and then. I mean, you think how many versions there are of a Christmas Carol. There's loads of them because that's your traditional Christmas story. But
no, it doesn't really make any sense for me. I guess I don't know. Maybe it was always planned to be a Christmas episode and the scheduling changed. I don't know how these things work. Yeah. But what do you think of Charles Dickens?
I thought it was, I mean, I actually had to look up because they made it very clear because they don't actually, the Doctor and Rose don't actually realise they're in Cardiff first. I can't remember where he says it. Where he says he thinks they are. I want to say
France or so. Yeah. Something
France.
like that.
No, Naples. Like That's it. Naples, wasn't
That's it?
He says Naples. Yeah. And of course, straight away when you hear the two with the Welsh accents, I'm like, that's not an Italian accent. Like, the BBC have messed this one up a little bit, and then it was like, no, we're in Cardiff. It's like, okay, fine, fair enough. And I had to look up because they were very insistent that Charles Dickens was in Wales and everything like that. So, I'm assuming there was some kind of record. So I actually looked it up. And what's interesting is they say that they originally start off saying it's Naples 1859. And I was like, oh, Charles, and it says Charles Dickens was never in, kind of in Cardiff in 1859.
Yeah.
And then they say, no, it's
69
it's Wales 1869. And he actually was apparently in Wales in 1869. He
for Christmas?
No, it wasn't for. Was it for Christmas? What did I put down? No, it wasn't Christmas. When he was there, he covered. I think there was a shipwreck off the coast of Wales, and he covered it as like a kind of almost like a journalist piece.
Oh wow! Okay.
And then literally like a couple of months later, he unfortunately passed away. But I really like that kind of attention to detail. That's
quite cool.
And that kind of almost takes me on to my next kind of point as well, was because this is the first time they've gone in the past.
Yeah.
And the Doctor actually explains it further in the episode. But the question I put down was the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect that if you kill a butterfly, it then snowballs and it goes in. And I'm sitting there thinking, is that going to be something they touch on, or are they just going to gloss over it and just hope that nobody, noticed or anything like that? And he then explains that what you do in the if you change the past, it then kind of affects the future. So if you go back, whatever happened in the past always goes back to that future.
We're verging on this sort of complicated things now. They sort of throughout, they just sort of hand wave it away that it's you don't change too much and nothing will change.
It's the supposed to happen kind of thing. So they're supposed to go back in time and things are supposed to happen that lead to the future. So I kind of like that. I think it's quite interesting thing. I mean, it's the complete opposite of Back to the Future. Back to the Future is the butterfly effect. It is if you do something in the past that's different, it changes your future. But yeah, I think for ease of kind of the audience and everything like that, I think that's the better way to do it, because it just avoids all this kind of complex parallels and, oh, this actually happened or this didn't happen and everything like that. So I thought, oh, okay, that's fair enough. But the interesting thing as well is because, of course, he's doing a reading, isn't he? The old woman corpse goes to watch Charles Dickens do a reading.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did Dickens read his own plays? Is that how it was back in the day? You didn't have people
I'm
up there
so.
performing it? That seemed weird to me.
Well, I'm assuming so. There was no cinema. You couldn't go watch the latest thing in cinema or
No,
back on the TV at night.
Would it not be a play?
I don't know. I mean, it could be, I suppose. If you've got a playwright or something like Shakespeare, for example, we know that Shakespeare wrote plays and the plays were performed. But I suppose it might have been something. I mean, they do book readings all the time. Even still now,
this is true.
you'll get an author that will do a book reading. So I'm assuming it was like a special occasion kind of thing, and people pay good money because you could tell they looked like the posh Victorians, with the tall hats and the moustaches and everything like that. You could tell they were the posh Victorians. So I'm assuming people paid good money to listen to Charles Dickens. But what was really interesting is, of course, I thought that they were going to start off with this was going to inspire A Christmas Carol.
So did I, yeah. Even re-watching it, I was like, that must be where this is going.
Yeah, exactly. Because even in The Undertakers, I was like, oh, maybe that's going to be like the ghost of the Christmas, like going to be a ghost of the Christmas past or something like that. But then, of course, he starts reading that Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and I was like, I feel like they've missed one there. I feel like they missed an opportunity to go, that was what inspired Charles Dickens to write A Christmas Carol. But yeah, no, I think the actor that played Charles Dickens was very good. I mean, never met Charles Dickens myself. Don't know what he's actually like, but I feel like if he was about today, he'd probably be like that.
So I love the actor Simon Cannell. I think he's in like 4 Weddings and a Funeral or something like that. But I really fucking think this Dickens is so fucking boring. But there's an interview with the actor Simon Cannell, and he's like, I desperately didn't want to do this. I kept on making them rewrite the script because he's played Dickens hundreds of times on stage and films on TV, and he was like, the original script was so unfaithful. I had them to get them to rewrite it so that it would be more true to the actual character. And I think that maybe did it a disservice, to be fair, because I find him quite boring,
Yeah, but again, he's an author in the Victorian times.
But where's your creative license? It's Doctor Who. It's not edutainment, which is what I feel like this is sometimes. This episode.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Well, definitely not when they're doing like the exorcism or something. But
true. I must say though, I love the bit with him and the Doctor in the carriage, and he's like, Charles, do you mind if I call you Charlie? And I'm your biggest fan. And he's like, how do you resemble a cooling machine and all this? And that's good stuff. That's good Doctor Who.
Well, the funny thing is of course, because as they're running out the theatre to go to rescue Rose, of course, Charles Dickens is very skeptical. He's like, oh, no, it's all illusions, and he doesn't believe the Doctor and everything. And it does make me laugh because he mentions about the jumper as well. He's like, look, I've even changed the jumper.
Yeah.
Really hilarious. It was just like brilliant. Like, I like that. But he, of course, Charles Dickens is very skeptical, and the Doctor jumps in Charles Dickens's carriage, doesn't he?
Doesn't know whose
carriage is this.
Yeah.
And Charles Dickens is like, oh, it's mine. He's very skeptical. He's not going to let him go. And I just feel like the Doctor played it brilliantly because he knows a man like Charles Dickens, of course, he's going to have an ego. He knows he's an intelligent writer. He's a bestseller, everything like that. And I just put, he was just stroking the old ego. It was just like, oh, I'm your biggest fan, and I love this, and I love that. And then suddenly Charles Dickens is like, right, follow that hearse, and it's just like, I feel like I'm not saying for 1 second the Doctor wasn't a big fan, but I feel like he knew how to get him on board quickly.
Which I like that.
And and the Charlie thing. Oh, he says that only the women call me Charlie or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I also like the bit where he knocks on the door and he hears a scream and he goes, "What the Shakespeare is going on?" And I was like, that doesn't sound right. And it's what the Dickens is going on, right? That's what you'd say. What the Dickens? Yeah. Apparently, I had to Google it to be fair, but I thought that was quite a funny little moment as well.
Yeah. See, it's good writing. I don't know what you was on about you don't like the writing in this one.
It's clever. It's just, some of the writing is okay. Right. So I want to jump ahead, if you don't mind, to the bit where Rose and Gwen are in the kitchen. By the way, I didn't realize Cassandra in the last episode, Zoe Wanamaker, the actress, couldn't be there. She did all her lines in post-production and all that. And it was Gwen doing the voice for Cassandra on the day, which I thought was quite fun.
Really? That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. What have we got? The only thing I'd say, though, going back very slightly, was, of course, the son of the woman who got up out of the casket and decided to go walkabout. Of course, we know right at the start that he got his neck, pretty well snapped. And I've got to say, The Undertaker, he done a brilliant job of putting that one back together, didn't he?
I know, yeah. How do you reckon he did that? Like rods up the back or something?
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, again, it is technically a children's, they're trying to, make a general audience. So they're not going to have the, kind of any like, George Romero like kind of gore or anything. But I was like, cool, he's done a good job of kind of repairing that. But no, the thing with the kitchen is interesting. And in fact, there is a point I want to make just slightly before. Because they're in what I'm assuming is our equivalent of a living room, and she makes tea for everybody.
Yes.
And she hands the saucer to the doctor with the cup on it as well, and she says, "Oh, I've put 2 sugars in it." And the doctor kind of looks a little bit confused, and I was like, I wonder if she's also psychic, because you get a little hint at her abilities when they're going through, and the Undertaker's like, "Look, where is she? Where is she? Just focus. Where is she?" And I was like, I wonder if she's psychic. And then, of course, you fast forward to the bit where they're in the kitchen, and when she's speaking with Rose, and she reads Rose's mind and accesses her memories. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And also called the dead dad. I'm sure I called the dead dad in episode 1.
You did call the dead dad, and hold on to that as well. Hold on to that as well.
Yeah. As soon as she was like, oh, like, I think she was like, I'm really sorry to hear about your dad or something like that. And she was like, I didn't say that. Like, I was like, called it. I knew I called it. But, But yeah, no, that's very interesting.
The cup of tea thing. He again, brilliant line, brilliant reaction, all that sort of stuff. However, and I went back and checked this. In the first episode, Rose offers the doctor a cup of tea and he goes, milk, no sugar. So I'm just throwing that out there. Either she's not that good a psychic or continuity error.
Well, or a third possibility in the fact that maybe she can't actually read the doctor properly.
Oh, I like that.
He's not human, is he? He's an alien.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Good point.
Could be a third thing, but probably a continuity error though. I'm not gonna lie. But
that scene in the kitchen with Rose and Gwen is brilliant. So they mentioned the rift a couple of times. This comes up big time in Doctor Who in the future. Actually, in this series and in the next series, it's a massive playing point throughout Russell's show, and also the spin-off series Torchwood is based entirely around the rift. Like this is I didn't realize how much. Well, we're only 3 episodes in, and the amount of repeat characters we've got, the amount of repeat plot threads that are being introduced, like they really lay the groundwork in this series for the next sort of 5 series and spin-off shows. It's mad.
I could see that, because they mentioned the rift was caused by the Time War. They were displaced by the Time War.
Exactly, yeah, which comes around massively in the 50th. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah. A lot of foreshadowing in this bit.
Yeah, I think the only thing I put down, because it was a very I suppose it was to show that times have changed, and kind of the whole idea of women, they're not just servants in a kitchen and everything like that. It's to show, it's almost Rose giving hope to is it Gwyneth? Did we say it was? Was it Gwyneth? Yeah. It's almost like her giving her hope for the future. You're not always going to be a servant. You're not always going to be answering, kind of answering to and everything like that. You've got a future. But the only thing I thought though is everyone learned about the Victorian times in school. You know what the Victorian times are, and it just like Rose was surprised. She was like, "Oh, I didn't realize you get paid like £1 a month."
Yeah.
Surely you would have known that. You would have read Charles Dickens in school, or you would have done even if you done a school play, primary school or something like that, you would have looked into the Victorian times. Oh, they used to work in workhouses and orphans and all that stuff. Like, surely she would have known about that, and she shouldn't if I went back in the Victorian times and I was having a conversation with someone like that, I'd be, you'd have an understanding. You'd be like, oh yeah, no, of course, I
Yeah.
remember like things, times have changed for the better, may I add. But yeah, that was the only thing I didn't like about that conversation. It just, Rose was very naive on that.
Yeah, no, I hear
But,
you. Like, you can't blame men for their hands having a wonder back in the day.
oh, honestly, that it's just the fact that the doctor laughed at it as well, and I was just like, oh, that's probably not going to be, if that happened now, Twitter. I'm sure Twitter would have something to say about that one.
Agree, agree completely. There's actually a few
Yeah.
PC moments in this series I hope you're going to pick up on, because yeah, it's very 2005 though, isn't it? Yeah, touching up girls is fine.
Yeah.
Let's laugh at it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that one's kind of. It was almost like like you kind of like physically like winced on the train. I was like, oh yeah, that's not that wouldn't be written like they wouldn't have directed Christopher Eccleston to laugh at that thing. They'd have just
Yeah,
it would have been more
exactly.
like kind of they'd have written on the script. You could see it now, cross out laugh and just put show shock or
Yeah,
something like
exactly.
that.
Yeah, punch him in the face or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. But yeah, so then of course they decided to do a séance.
Yeah, I have a
Which,
question on this. The
oh yeah,
doctor says a joke about I love a happy medium, and Rose laughs, and I don't get it. What's a happy medium?
right. So a medium is a well, a medium is in like kind of it's like the bit in between, yeah. But a medium is also someone like Gwyneth that can like kind of access apparently they can access like spirits from beyond and everything like that. So they act as like a conduit. So they're called a medium.
Yeah, I
And of
got that,
course,
but what's the
a
happy
happy
medium?
a happy medium. It's like a compromise. You say, oh, we'll find a happy medium.
Ah,
Like
right.
middle,
Okay,
so you
okay,
find
okay.
a compromise. So it's quite a clever pun. But
Right.
yeah,
Got you.
seance. So a very interesting thing. I suppose it's the logical thing to do if there's a spirit floating around the house or something. But yeah, I mean, it's that I think was the first time that Charles Dickens then started to believe that everything wasn't smoke and mirrors, which again you can see from the fact from the start he wasn't willing to participate, and then by the end he's like, wow, this is incredible. Which again, it's a pivotal point in the story. It's that flipping of a character that's a non-believer into a believer.
Yeah.
And again, he always comes at it from a science perspective, and the solution, funny enough, to the spirits is science. It's science based. Flood the house with gas. That's
Yeah, that was a nice payoff, to be fair.
yeah. So the only other thing I put as well is, of course, there was 5 of them, and there's an overhead shot they do, and they're all like holding hands, and it's of course the 5 not points of a star, kind of a pentagram kind of thing.
Oh,
Again,
okay. I like that. I didn't pick up on that.
yeah, it just picked up on it. I was like, well, and then, of course I had to then count back, and I was like, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, no, it's a pentagram. But yeah, again, I suppose it's just something that was a coincidence, but it's a nice touch, it's especially for that thing. But
Yeah, like
yeah,
that. I
I
don't have any there. This bit was all I totally lost interest by this point. This all sort of washed over me now, to be honest.
yeah, look, the seance wasn't actually all that. It was only a couple of minutes. I mean, it was obviously there to show that there was more than one, and to kind of it's almost like an introduction. They wanted to introduce them and show that they're not actually, even though they are to us as ghosts, they're actually how did they describe it? Was it like projections from the other side of the rift or something?
Yeah. Projections from the other side of the rift. It's just all sort of, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't feel important. I do like the idea of them lying to the doctor, being like, the Time War destroyed our planet. We need to come through. There's just a couple of us, help us, please. And he obviously feels that guilt because of the Time War. And then having that twisted to be like, no, haha, we're coming through. We're populating everybody. We need to kill everyone. Second neck snap in this episode, by the way. I'm fucking all for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the idea, didn't like the execution.
No, I mean it was quite funny because I knew they were going to turn evil as soon as the big blue figure then went to like ready orangey. It was like, oh, okay, it's an evil figure now. Oh dear. But yeah, it was interesting because, of course, obviously, I know that there is a Time War, but I've got no idea what it's about or anything like that. But it's obviously it's blindingly obvious that it's something that the Doctor he's almost I want to say embarrassed about.
Yeah.
It's something that he shies away from, and of course in the previous episode, Rose is pressing him, and he won't say anything about it. And of course, it's interesting because it reaffirms that he's willing to go against his logic to almost make amends for what happened in the Time War. So obviously he did something or didn't do something that resulted in everything going sideways. But of course, what that was, no idea. No idea.
Yeah, mate, it's brilliant. And this is stuff that doesn't get a payoff for like, I think about 7 or 8 years, I think, before we get all this paid off. I know, man. It's a story of fucking long time in the making. I love stuff like that. I love that it's laying the groundwork. But yeah, I also love his line, "Now I'm gonna die in a basement in Cardiff." That was brilliant.
Yeah, it feels like I've got no idea no idea why they're knocking Wales, but it almost seemed like Cardiff was the butt of the joke, and I'm like, oh, I've been to Cardiff once or twice, I think. It's not a bad place. I wouldn't say it's the worst place I've been. I mean, hell, I live around the corner from Basildon.
Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
but it's obviously seemed like it was like the butt of the joke or something. So obviously back in 2005, maybe Cardiff wasn't all that, but.
I think it's more the budget was so low. They had like their filming studios are in Cardiff. So I think it's a bit of an in-joke towards that. Yeah, like we couldn't afford to record in London or go off and travel. Like we couldn't afford to do this episode in Naples. We've got to do it in Cardiff. So let's take this out. This sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's quite interesting. It also, of course, led to a very, very interesting debate between the Doctor and Rose. And again, I think it shows the humanity, kind of the side of humanity and the side of logic. Because I put a note down about interesting debate. Is it a corpse or is it a donor?
Yeah, because he mentions the whole donor card thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's an interesting debate because both of them are right. It's a corpse. It's someone that's lived. They deserve rest and everything like that. But at the same time, the Doctor's right. You don't sit there and go, well, I can't, kind of nick this kidney from this person because he was a person.
Exactly.
So it's a very, very interesting debate. And to be honest, I'm not actually sure what side I'm on.
No, I hear you. It's difficult because you wouldn't want to watch someone, in your dead partner or your mum and dad or anyone in your family. But then at the same time, they're done with it. Why not just let them use it?
Well, that's it. And people become organ donors because they want to, they want to help somebody else's life. So, I mean, we then find out that they're evil. But of course, at the time, it's like, well, actually, these people could be, almost like refugees or something. It's like, oh, are you actually helping them? But
I suppose the answer is, would you ever have a donor card?
I don't actually have one, but I think I saw somewhere that they said it's now mandatory or something like that.
Oh, do you have any objections to like your body being donated for science?
But I'm not using it, so doesn't make a difference to me. But yeah, I just they can pick the bones out of it once I'm done with it. Quite literally pick the bones out of it. But I don't have any objection really. It's just it is what it is. As I say, as you say, they're not using it anymore. You might as well, if you can help somebody out, you might as well do it.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I mean, I probably wouldn't want my body donated to science. Actually, there's actually my biggest fear, right? I think I've mentioned this to you before, is that your body, like you stay conscious after you die, right? And it's actually an episode of Doctor Who. This happens. So there's like, a guy is being cremated and you hear him in the afterlife screaming as he's being burnt and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's my biggest fear. So I don't think I would. Selfishly, I don't think I would donate my body to science.
But you wouldn't want to see how somebody else lived. Like, if your liver's in someone else, you could go around and just follow them around. Like, like in Among Us, when you die, you can float around and you can haunt your killer. You could do that.
I don't like anyone enough to haunt them, Jack. That's the thing. Please don't die and get a bit of peace and fucking quiet, I hope.
Yeah, you can just haunt an old house or something,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
The last note I really have, unless you've got anything else to add, is the Doctor obviously says, I won't leave her while she's in danger. I think referring to Gwen.
Yep.
And then he just does, which I kind of love. He just, fuck it. I'm going to let her sacrifice herself for me. I'm more important than her. I'll go on and save more lives. This is her time to shine. And that sort of comes up quite a few times in Doctor Who, to be fair. But I think that's quite
Okay.
an interesting sort of character development. He was
Well-
willing to let Cassandra rip herself to shreds in the last one. He's willing to let this woman sacrifice herself in this one.
Yeah, the only thing I saw with that, because it was very interesting, because it almost seems when they're locked in that kind of small cellar room and they've got the corpses coming through, to me it almost seemed like he was scared of dying, and it was like,
Yeah,
well, that's
yeah.
really interesting, because that was the first time we've ever, even when they were on board the space station last episode, there was never any shred of I'm scared I'm going to die. It was just like, right, I'm going to sort this out. I'm going to do this. We'll do this, and we'll be in time. We'll be at home in time for tea. Whereas this, it was almost like, you could see he was almost scared of dying. It was like, okay, that's interesting. But the only thing I thought about him letting Gwyneth like sacrifice herself to save the rest was, and again, you'll probably laugh, but I did sit there and think, actually, I wonder if he was supposed to make a sacrifice in this time war and he didn't. And then he's giving someone else the opportunity to make the sacrifice because he knows that they would, for them, that would be better rather than them not making the sacrifice and then living on.
Mate, I like the train of thought. Yeah, it's not miles off in the slightest.
Yeah, like Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump. It's just like, oh, leave me be. And then like Forrest rescues him and then he's in the hospital eating ice cream. Like that kind of thing. He wanted, like, the doctor needed to make a sacrifice. He didn't, and he regrets not making that sacrifice. So he doesn't want to stop somebody else making a sacrifice because he knows they'll regret it.
Interesting. So as not to spoil anything, I actually think it's the reverse. I think,
oh, really?
with like 7 or 8 years fucking hindsight, he does make a big sacrifice. And what I'm sort of getting from this series is that it looks like he fucking regrets it and he's trying to make up for it. And he's scared to make that sacrifice again, is what I would say.
Interesting.
So it genuinely feels like he's sort of skirting responsibility. If you sort of come back and look at it in hindsight, but let's try not to spoil anything for you, JP.
Yeah, no, that's it. We'll keep rolling. But yeah, as I said earlier this episode, I did think it was a bit of a rushed ending. It was like they kind of realized that, oh, we've only got 40 minutes or 45 minutes, and they looked at the thing and they're like, oh, we've already done like 35 minutes. Quick, we need to end it. And it was just like, oh yeah, we blow up the house at the end, and it was just like, to me, I felt like they really, really built the episode in, with the old woman going up, the mystery, with Gwyneth being, particularly psychic as well. And it was like, yeah, this is really, really good. And I actually thought that they were going to do it as a 2-parter episode, because I know you said there were 2-parter episodes.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I thought, I mean, it's only episode 3, so it seems a bit early to do a 2-parter. But I was like, oh, okay, maybe they're going to do a 2-parter. They're going to almost end it on a cliffhanger, and then they'll come back and kind of finish the story in the next episode. But yeah, it was just very rushed at the end, and I can see why you think the writing's a bit naff on this one, because it was a bit like, kind of just wave the magic wand and, oh, by the way, all the corpses and the ghosts are dead. Happy days,
Mate, it's really funny you say that, because everything I've been reading up, because I've been going off doing a little bit of research into these episodes and watching them. These first 3 episodes in particular, they were struggling to fill the full 45 minutes. So with episode 1, that's why they added the next time trailers in, because they were like, that will fill up some time. Yeah. Episode 2, that weird blue janitor character that gets dragged into the spiders.
Yep.
She wasn't in the script at all. They finished the entire thing. We're like, shit, this only comes in at 40 minutes. Let's add this character and this scene in here, so that'll fill up some screen time. And same thing with this. This is the only series, I think, this is the series that has the most episodes coming in at like 42, 43 minutes, something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed a bit rushed. Like, I feel like they could have had a little bit more, because it was almost like they left Charles Dickens alone while he ran upstairs, but they were interested in Rose and the Doctor.
Yeah. I hear that. He just sort of disappears for a while, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that they're going after randomers because he kills they kill the Undertaker, don't they? They kill him and then they take over his corpse. So I was like, it just almost seems like it was a convenient plot point that they left Charles Dickens alone to run upstairs and then play with the gas lamps and then go, oh, actually, that's a great idea.
Let's just blow it up.
That's really interesting. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, no, I didn't think it was a bad episode. And we'll go on to the whole rating thing. I love the episode. Pretty sure
Interesting.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I'm going to say I hate it. I'm going to say I hate it. I wouldn't watch it again in a hurry. It's interesting because I started this off, we're only at episode 3, and I started it off saying there's not a bad episode in this series. And there are. I think what I meant is there's not a bad cat, like especially the Doctor and Rose. The Doctor is on point throughout this and throughout every episode. But yeah, this episode really let me down. And I've sort of snuck ahead as well. I haven't watched them, but I looked at some episode titles. There's still some that I find incredibly boring in this series coming up. I won't tell you which ones. I'll see if you pick up on it. But yeah, I'm glad I'm doing this because I'm starting to think, actually, is this great? Is this great? Christopher Eccleston, great. Yeah, no. Rose, great. The character's great, but this episode let it down for me.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I think even though my gripe of the ending seemed a bit rushed, I still thought the overall episode I thought was pretty good. So just the only kind of little gripe I had about the actual writing of the episode and the story was just the end part. I just thought it was a bit rushed.
Yeah.
But Fair enough. So it's interesting because then of course that takes us on to next time, as you said, about they bolted it on the end to pad the episode out.
Well, just before we jump there, Jack.
Oh, go on.
Did you spot the Easter egg this episode? I'll give you a clue. 2 mentions, technically.
What did I put? Hold on a minute. I'm sure on my notes I put the Easter egg. No, I thought the Time War, the mention of the Time War, I thought that was the Easter egg.
To be fair, the Time War is like the running theme throughout the next sort of 5 seconds. But there's a series-specific Easter egg, something that's building up, not necessarily building up, but the seeds are being laid for a reward in this series finale, and it's not the Time War, I'm afraid.
Not the Time War, because you said last week's episode that you said it wasn't in season 1, but it was in it wasn't episode 1, but it was in episode 2 and it was in episode 3, and of course they mentioned the Time War is in episode 2, so I was like, brilliant, could be the time, but obviously not. Okay, so we keep watching and we'll see.
We keep watching. Yeah, we had it twice in this episode. I'd actually forgotten the second time, not on a technicality, but okay, we move forward. Episode 4. Let's see if you can get it in episode 4. Which is a 2-parter. What did you think of the next time?
I'm assuming this is talk. Is this talk? Because of course there's guys, very official government-looking guys with guns and body armor and everything like that. And it just it seems like I don't know where in the timeline this is set, because part of the thing they show a spaceship crashing through Big Ben. Yeah. And it's like, right, okay, well, obviously this can't be in the past because, it would have, the whole loop thing and everything like that. But at the same time, though, it's like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Whereabouts is this set? But the biggest takeaway I've got from next week's episode is it looks like Mickey's back.
Mickey is back. Yeah, Mickey's back. Can we talk about how sick that effect of the alien crashing through Big Ben is, by the way?
Yeah. I've got to say, it does look pretty good, actually.
It is mad, isn't it? Good. Yeah, quality. I really, really like the next episode, the next 2-parter.
Okay.
I think it's top quality Doctor Who. Just to spoil it a little bit for you in sense of like what to expect in terms of it's not very well regarded as an episode, I don't think.
Really?
But it's got I've got a real soft spot for it. So just go in with that. It's not, it's been, I don't know, actually. There's a few things in it that are fucking ridiculous, and then there's a few things in it that are fucking amazing. So I'm really excited. I think if you're up for it, let's do next week. Obviously, it's a 2-parter, so let's do it as one episode, I think, because I don't know if there'll be enough story to talk about to drag it out over 2 episodes. I also think it's supposed to be watched in one go as well. I think that's the point of the story. So
agreed. I'm assuming they did it that way to, they could be doing it that way to pad the season out as well. But I think for 2 parts, I'm happy to going forward. We'll go, if it's a 2-part or a 3-parter, we'll do it in one episode and we'll cover it.
I agree with you. But looking forward to that one. Any other notes you've got on this episode or the next time, JP?
No, that's it really. I'm excited that Mickey's back. I mean, going back to my thing of, I'm not sure when it's set, kind of when in time it's set. I'm assuming it must be set, at the time that Rose disappeared, because of course Mickey hasn't aged, but you never know. You just don't know with next time trailers, they can be deceiving.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, mate, I think it'll be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably watch it quite early this week, actually. So if you're about to record a bit earlier, let's just knock it out.
Move. Yeah, that's a risky move. You just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, like I have to write I have to write notes down because I've got a memory like a sieve at the moment.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. To be fair, I'm going along. First time I've ever sort of watched it and actually taken notes and stuff. But we'll get it done and we'll be out next Friday. So yeah, listen, guys, thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We're about 100. We've got about 100 listeners. We've got about 100 followers on the Instagram now. Keep on writing to us. We want to hear your thoughts. If you've got anything you want us to discuss about aliens in London and World War III, write to us, let us know. But yeah, if you're listening on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, leave us a review on your local podcaster of choice, and recommend us to your friends. We appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, no, really appreciate all the comments and the questions, as Josh said. Any questions, anything you want us to discuss about Doctor Who, fire them in. Do it by email, Instagram, or a comment. We'll pick it up and we'll discuss it next episode.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Cheers, guys.
Adios, amigos.